Good afternoon, good evening, Fantasy Ghosts. This is Commissioner Rhino. We have a really special show going on today. We're going to talk a little bit fantasy football, professional football with a former NFL Ram Greg Williamson, and just talk about mental healthness and try to break the stigma of it because we're taught that to keep your feelings hidden, and I don't believe in that. I grew up like that for a long time, and that caused me to have issues mentally, mental issues, and which caused me to go down the trail of drugs for a while. And then once I got better, started looking at myself and figured out that there's better ways to go about it. Started going different, started getting better. Before we bring on Greg Williamson here, I'm going to bring in a very, very good friend of mine, somebody I've known for, good Lord, probably about 20 plus years. Someone I worked with for a long time. He grew out of the working for the local water district and went to school and became a doctor, not a doctor of thugonomics, but a psychologist. Somebody I respect, somebody that I've been playing fantasy football with for 8 years. He's owned me quite a bit. And that's when I bring up Dr. Stephen Brewer.
Ron, what's up, man? How's it going?
How you do? How long have we known each other, dude?
Oh man, I think it's been it's been 20 years, man. Because I started when I first got that job with the water department. It was like the middle of 2005, dude.
Yeah. So we've been through. We were each other's sounding boards for a long time.
Oh God, I know, dude. I mean, I was there for almost 10 years. So
yeah,
all 10 years.
Yeah, I know. And one of the things that I've always admired about you was the fact that you had a goal set in your head, and that was become a doctor in psychology, and you worked 40 hours a week, but then you go to school too at the same time, and you're so overloaded, and not overloaded, but I just admire that about you. In 2009, I started playing fantasy football again, and I remember me and you used to sit there and talk about our teams, and we did that for a long time until 2018. I left my home league and said, "Okay, dude, I'm ready to try this commissioner crap. Let's start a league." And we started a league, and the league is everybody is either a champion or playing a championship game. We're going 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And each year has been a new champion. Last year I won. You can see my belt in the background. I named the league Rhino Strong League in honor of my wife who passed away 2 years ago. And you're very instrumental in helping my mentalness with that, because it was a hard road. One thing that when I thought and I came to Shepherd about doing the show, I started looking into stuff, and it's like I couldn't realize. All right, I was astounded by how many triggers there were with this. Now, are the triggers the same for kids and adults, or do they vary?
So for triggers, as far as things that kind of trigger symptoms or anything like that?
Yeah, like the three that stood out for me was sickness, because my past. I've had cancer twice, and then the other one was grief, which my wife, and then caretaker, which I took care of. I took care of Donita for almost 3 years when she was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is a very aggressive brain cancer, and but yeah, so those are the kind of triggers.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I think it's different for kids and adults only in regards to certain, I think it's in regards to certain contexts that you look at stuff in, like you're saying about the caretaker role and all that. And then with an adult, the caretaker role looks a little bit different than it does for a child, right? One thing that comes up in my mind, right off the top of my head with a caretaker role with children, is that when they get parentified at an early age, when they're young, their kids, and in childhood they have to be the parent for whatever reason. Maybe one parent is an addict, or both are addicts, or one parent's gone and the other one's always working. So then the oldest usually has to take care of their siblings, or even if it's just them, they have to take care of themselves, while the one parent's out there working or taking care of them, in that way. So that's kind of like a caretaker role that they put on, but that's like parentifying them. So that's a trigger, and that has an impact on the kid, because it kind of takes away their childhood, and then they grow up, and then they have all kinds of different symptoms and stuff like that with that. So in a sense, it's kind of the same, but then the context is a little bit different between kids and adults.
And what things can people do to help? I know when I feel one coming on, I know how I'm feeling when it's coming on now. So I know I'll admit it to myself and actually admit it to myself and talk to myself about listening to music and just kind of figure that out. What other ways can people do to, if they know it's coming on?
Well, you're like, with your example, you're doing a great job of that, right? And one thing that you brought up is music, right? When people feel triggered and they start getting the symptoms of whatever diagnosis they have, whether it's like something involving anxiety or depression or anything, or it's trauma related or whatever, you always want to find something that will be that's unique and impactful for the individual, right? So like for me, when I meet with clients and I'm working with clients and I'm working with them and I develop this therapeutic relationship and I know them long enough, I know that like if they don't like music, I'm not going to be like, hey, try music, because they're going to be like, dude, I don't like that stuff, So I try to figure out what fits for them and then use something that they love to help as a coping skill or as a grounding technique and stuff like that. People are more apt to buy into coping skills and interventions and stuff like that if you're using something that they love to do anyways, right? So that's the one thing there. The biggest key is something you said though, where the first thing we want to do is that we want to acknowledge whatever it is we're feeling, right? Like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, right? Like you were saying, hey, I was taught at an early age to kind of keep everything in and all that. And at the end of the day, that's kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to pay for it somehow, but we might not pay for it now, but we'll pay for it in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So the key there is to there's a phrase we always use, and it's kind of like Hallmark cardish a little bit, and I'm sure you've heard people say this before, but they say something to the effect of like, sit with your emotions, right? Now,
a lot of people, your emotions.
Sit with your emotions, right? Now, a lot of people think that means that you just got to be there and you just got to like, you just got to feel like, you got to feel whatever you need to feel, right? And then not do anything about it, right? But that's not entirely true. The first step in that is what you said, which is you acknowledge that you're feeling like that.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's funny. I've learned it's okay to have good ugly cries sometimes. Sometimes the ugly cry is so therapeutic, and they come out of nowhere. For me, they come out of nowhere. But I feel so much better afterwards that it's therapeutic. And I try when I talk to people, a lot of people that know my story, because I'm pretty, me, I'm an open book about my life and stuff. I've gone down the road before, put that way. I've lost a friend and almost lost a niece because of suicide. So I'm very aware. I'm more aware of it now than before. And I tell people it's okay to cry. I work for I do security for a school, and one of the students was really visibly upset one day, and I walked around my building. I asked her, "You okay?" And she's like, "My Tio died." And she was crying. I go, "It's okay to cry." She goes, "It is." I go, "I cry all the time." And I told her I lost my wife, and I cry. It's okay to cry. And the smile and the relief on her face, was everything to me. What do you feel that a high percentage of the mental health issues is contribution to homelessness too, or do you think that's effective a bunch of different things?
I would say that just off the top of my head, I would feel like, and I would say that statistically, it might be a huge contributor to homelessness, right? We have a lot of, I mean, and this has been going on for decades, but we have a lot of homeless vets, right? They have a lot of PTSD and traumatic experiences, and unfortunately, they fall through the cracks. Treatment's not available, or a treatment is, but it's not quality treatment, and so there's some mental health aspects to that, right? And there's also, one thing that a lot of people think about when it comes to homelessness is drug use, right? Or drug addiction, right? But when people get addicted to substances, they're using those substances to self-medicate. What are they trying to self-medicate, right?
No, I understand that.
Yeah. So the root of that is mental health issues, right? Something they've experienced that's caused them to say, hey, there's a great line, and Charlie Sheen said it in that show, 2.5 Men. There's a part where he was hungover and he's throwing up in the bathroom, and the young kid, I forgot the kid's name, but his nephew came in and he was like, was it Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he came in and he was like, hey, Uncle Charlie. He's like, why are you, what's wrong? Are you sick? Were you throwing up? And he was like, oh, I just, he basically said I had too much to drink. And then last night, and then he goes, well, if you drink that much, it makes you feel sick. Like, why do you drink it? And he said, I still have some things inside of me that I need to kill. And that's one of the realest things coming, and especially coming from 2.5 Men. Like, you're not expecting to hear that thunderous quote right there, but I was like, whoa, dude, like, that's deep, and that's where a lot of that comes from, man. And so we're all like self-medicating, and unfortunately sometimes that gets to a higher level, and then it causes us to lose our whole lives sometimes.
It's funny. I grew up with a very low self-esteem about myself, and so once even in the Marine Corps, I had a low self-esteem about myself. And when I got in the Marine Corps, I would self-medicate. I got into cocaine, because it would make me feel good. The euphoria of making me feel good. Then you feel like you're wanted because all these people are partying with you, and you think it's a real situation. And then it got to the point where I couldn't do coke anymore because my body was rejecting it. And then, oh, here's a cheaper drug. Here's some meth. Here's speed. Do a nice, decent line of speed, and you're up for 4 to 6 hours. Eat clean the shelf of your refrigerator, clean your apartment. Now, that started off as kind of a mellow thing for me, but then it got to the point I went a 4-day binge, get maybe 2 hours of sleep, and I remember getting out of the shower, just coming down hard, because the high was beautiful, but the coming down part, that was, you felt worse. And the song Michael Jackson song "Man in the Mirror" came on, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at the man in the mirror, I'm ashamed of the way I am, and it's like, wow, okay, that's what I need. I made the changes right there. I kind of walked away from people that were bringing me down. And I think a lot of people, I think we can surround ourselves with positive-minded people or surround ourselves with negative-minded people. And I think if you surround yourself with negative-minded people, they act like an anchor, and they just kind of hold you down. You're not able to grow. You're not able to evolve and stuff. Do you think that is one issues too, of people not being able to maybe realize that?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it can be an environmental thing, and not necessarily environment in the sense of like weather or anything like that, but like environmental, which is what's surrounding you, your surroundings, and if you're around a lot of people that are struggling just like you are, chances are pretty high that you're going to, kind of soak that all up. Each of you guys are going to feed off of that, and so and even if there's no substances involved, if you're around somebody that's negative a lot or toxic, that's going to drain us, and that's going to pull us down. Like you said, it's going to pull us down like an anchor. And the one thing about an anchor is that it's used for us to not move, right?
Right, exactly.
So if it anchors us down, then we're not growing, we're not moving forward, right? We're not figuring things out. And so that's kind of one of the biggest things, and I'm sure you know about this because I'm sure you went through some of the steps and the process and the programs when you were getting clean and sober and everything, and you were just like noticing that they put an emphasis on who you hang out with, your group, your people. Sometimes you have to break some friendships or not hang out with certain people because they're going to trigger you or they're going to bring you into that world again. So then you have to take a step back. That's one of the hardest things to do when you're cleaning up, is kind of restructuring your friendships and your environment. But it's necessary, So yeah, it plays a big role in our ability to kind of regulate our feelings and our emotions without using substances.
Yeah, actually, I didn't. I left. I just left. I left the apartment I was in and slept on my friend's couch for probably about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go to counsel. I just kind of did it my own. So I knew. I just knew if I put the right thought process by looking in the mirror every morning, giving a positive affirmation. I know that sounds corny as all hell.
That's the Hallmark stuff right there that I was talking about. It works, but it's still Hallmarky,
Yeah, it is very Hallmark, but it's stupid simple, but it helped me grow.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? I know with me personally, I found that football alone, watching the football season, and being able to get lost in, because me and you are both Rams fans, diehard Rams fans, and just get lost into that game, watching the game. But then we add in the fantasy football part of it. It's a nice for me. It's a nice escape. Sometimes I guess it's escape from reality. Is there other ways that people can do that? Maybe going to the beach. What other ways do you think people can do? Not everybody plays fantasy football.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's tons of different ways that people can do that, and get that that escape or disconnect for a little bit when they're feeling triggered or stressed or anything like that. I mean, like, we have fantasy football, we have football. I play fantasy baseball. I play fantasy hockey, even though this season I didn't because I lost the championship last year and I almost went undefeated, and it really hurt me. So I was mad, and I'm not doing it this season. I'm not playing it again. But I do a lot of fantasy sports like that. Pay attention to a lot of sports. That's one way to do it. There's people that are a little bit more on the creative side and less on the sports kind of active side, and so they'll do a lot of writing, sketching, painting, poetry. I mean, any kind of creativity, music. It's all cathartic. It all allows you to release a lot while you're creating whatever you are, right? So I mean, like you said, you went to the beach. Some people are active and not in the sports sense, but they go to the gym. They use the gym and hiking and stuff like that to get that release and disconnect. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of different ways, and that kind of goes back to what we said before about you finding music, you finding something that resonates with you, and that's what we all need to do is figure out what resonates with us,
right?
And it's healthy, and then we latch onto that and we use that instead of using some of the more unhealthy or destructive means of coping.
You said it's funny. You just said poetry because I got out of the Marine Corps in '88, so late '80s, early '90s. I drove around the journal in my car, and whenever I felt that like depression coming on, I would just pull over, get out my journal and write what I was feeling. And sometimes the shit was dark as all hell. But it was a way for me to release what was in me. It was helpful for me. It was very, very, very. In fact, it was a nice journal, some good poetry, good, sometimes some dark, but yeah, it actually got stolen from. Yeah,
that sucks.
By a band, and then like months later, they're playing at the club I was bartending at, and it's like, this sounds familiar. They actually made the damn song.
Wow, what band was this? Is this like
it was a no-name band.
Oh, okay. You're all like, oh, and that band? It was.
Yeah, they're opening up for Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, okay. It's all the Misfits with Glenn Danzig, and I'm like, what? No.
Well, right on, man.
Cool.
My I is there any more? Is there any? One before bringing Greg on, what's a good way to break the stigma
Okay.
of mental of this?
Okay. Yeah. Well, breaking the stigma is like kind of like I think providing to me it means like providing an example for people that are
Okay.
struggling, and showing them like, hey,
Okay.
this is what it means to handle yourself and be responsible for your emotions and to regulate yourself, in a healthy way, right? So that in doing that and saying that and looking at it in that perspective, we break the stigma by doing, right? Like
Right.
one thing I like to do with my clients is like I like to tell them like, hey, like I don't say it like this, but this is kind of like I feel like the old hair club president for men thing where it's like, hey, I'm not also the president, I'm also a client,
Right.
and it's like I feel like opening up with my clients like that and just letting them know. I don't tell them everything, but I just let them know like, hey, I know what you're feeling. I have empathy for you because I've been in those spots before.
Yeah.
And showing them that there's a better way to manage our emotions and regulate ourselves, and in a healthier way, and that it's okay, like you said earlier, it's okay to express it. It's okay to acknowledge it. It doesn't mean you're any less of a human or any less of a man or a woman or an adult or anything like that. If you're showing it, it's okay to do that. That's how we break the stigma, by just providing an example of how we do things. Right
Okay.
now, that's probably the best way.
Okay. Before I let you guys got one question out because I think I know the answer. Your handle, Dr. Black Mask. Where does the Black Mask come from?
All right. So I have this company that I sell comic books out of. I run this other LLC. It's like a comic book.
Yeah, because you have been, always will be a comic book freak.
Yes, exactly. So it's called Blackmasks and Gasoline. And so when like this was like probably almost 20 years ago, I don't know if you there was a Rise Against song.
Yeah.
It's called Blackmasks and Gasoline. And it resonated with me. And so I love that song. And there's a line in that song that really like set it off for me. And I was like, well, a couple of them. And I was like, man, that's so cool. And then like one day I just decided, hey, that's a pretty cool name for a business, Black Mass and Gasoline, and then so I did all this stuff, set up my logo and everything. And then I just started using that handle on social media, and then as I went through the PhD program and I got closer to my PhD and I became a PhD candidate, then I was like, okay, I'm going to add the doctor. So then I put Dr. Black Masks, and then that's just where it came up. But for a long time, it was just Black Masks, and that's it. So it came from a Rise Against song.
Now I'm surprised because I know your dream job would be to be a stuntman for Batman. So that's where I thought Black Mask came from.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. But I think the first day on the job, I'd probably hurt myself, dude. Knowing me, I'd pull a muscle or something, and it'd be over.
All right, one last question because we're both drafting in the Fantasy Goats Invitational. And we're in the same league. What's your favorite draft pick right now?
From everybody or from mine?
From your team.
This is gonna sound kind of nerdy and analytical, but I'm really happy that I got Trey Benson, because I got Connor, but I got Benson, because I and somebody made a comment in the chat about Benson cutting into Connor's, playtime and yards and all that stuff. And so I was like really worried about not getting Benson and someone trying to stick it to me by taking the handcuff,
Right.
And so I got him, and I was like, dude, yes, I was so excited for that. Like I was just, it's not like the sexy pick, or anything like that, but like I was like so excited that I got his handcuff that I was like, okay, I'm set, I'm good.
But we both know we both won enough championships, but is that sometimes it's not the sexy pick set that we need the chip, man.
Yeah.
It's the mid to late rounds, the surprise ones, the league winners. I think my favorite pick right now is Trey Harris because I'm a big Trey Harris guy.
Yeah.
So, hey, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship. You know, we need to get together sometime. Tip one back.
For sure.
You know,
I'll be down, man.
yeah. Much love to you, brother. Next time you're up in the high desert, hit me up. I'll throw some stuff on the Traeger, and we'll have at it, man. I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate you having me, man. I also appreciate your friendship too, man. It started off with me buying you a Morrissey Greatest Hits,
The Smith Greatest Hit, yep.
Hits album for your birthday. When I within the first 2 weeks, it's of me starting there, or whatever. Yeah. And it grew into a brotherhood, man. So I appreciate you. You're my brother, man.
I think you got in trouble the first 2 weeks. You had to take was it you or Shane had to take your punk rock gear off?
It was probably it was probably Shane, but I know I got in trouble within the first year for my lip ring, and I had to take my lip
that's right, your lip ring.
Yeah, and I put that remember they wanted me to put a Band-Aid so it didn't look conspicuous, and I was like, okay, so I came in with the Explorer Band-Aid on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got in trouble for that. So
all right, brother, man. I appreciate you. You have a good rest of your day.
I'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks, man.
All right. Hope you all you goats enjoyed that talk. My next guest, man. This next bit is a brother. He's a brother of mine. We've known each other for 15 years. I met him at his memorabilia store. That's where I pretty much got all this stuff right here. Yeah, he played football for the Rams. He was law enforcement for 25 years. He actually was marshalized to work the Olympics in Utah. He was SWAT team in LA with the LA riots. And I have nothing but love and respect for this man, Mr. Greg Williamson.
Hey, how's it going, Ron?
I'm doing good. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing great, matter of fact.
How do you feel? See, you're in League 5 in the Fantasy Ghost Invitational, correct? Yeah.
Yes, I am in League 5. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about it. And I don't know if I'm cutting out, so I apologize if I am. But so I'm in League 5.
And what was your favorite pick on your team?
Man, my favorite pick is Brock Bowers. I didn't think I would get him, and I'm so excited to be able to pick up Brock in the second round. And I wanted to get Genty, but I was really surprised to see Brock there in the second round, and I think he's going to have a breakout season.
You had a breakout season. Another breakout season, do you think? You got 2 breakout seasons in a row?
Well, yeah, he's going. Man, this is going to be like the season right here. Now he had a great season last year, but this year nobody really knew that he's going to do what he did. But we're all expecting him to do great things, and I really believe he's going to show up and show out.
So even though you played for the Rams and you played in 1989, correct?
1987.
In 1987. And so you played for Rams, but the Raiders are your favorite team, correct?
Yeah. Now I grew up as a Ram fan, but I really had the Banaszak, the running back Davis. Back in the 72, 73, that's when I was really became a Raider fan, and just didn't run fast enough to catch Al Davis's attention.
So before we we speak on your time with the Rams, I know that when you worked for the correctional facility, you used to go out to at youths and speak to them about your journey. Could you just speak on that and just tell people your story, because it's a really inspirational story.
Well, I really love speaking to kids, and matter of fact, I went to school to be a school teacher. Didn't quite work out that way, but I always wanted to work with kids, and so I always went back to speak to kids and let them know my story. And my story is something that, from the Bible is like the David and the Goliath, where people didn't think that I would make it. But, I was in high school, I was 5'6", 5'7", 130 pounds, and soaking wet. And I used to tell people that, one day, not only will I get a scholarship and go to a university, but one day you're going to see me on Sundays. And, if you were so young age, you would have thought there's no way that this would happen to this guy. And so I went to Long Beach Millikan. That's where I went to school to play high school. And as soon as my senior year was over, guess how many colleges came after me?
Zero.
So no schools recruited me to go and play for their college. Zero. Yeah, no schools came after me. So my coach told me, hey, you might want to go the junior college route. And Cerritos, it was a couple of junior colleges that recruited me, but one of them was Cerritos Junior College. And the coach told me that I would go, when I come to that school, that I would be the starter. And when I got there, I was 8th string. He had all these guys who were 605, high school standout, high school all-stars that were at my position, and they were in front of me. And, I could have quit right then, but, I really believed in what I was saying when I was in high school, that I would go to a university. And so went all the way up to the beginning of the first game. I was just about to become the starter that year. I was real heartbroken. I had to redshirt that year. The next year I came back, became the starter, and then played well enough to where I was being highly recruited by everybody. I mean, you name the school, I was being recruited by it. Yeah, so I was going to have a standout year. The first game of my sophomore year at Cerritos Junior College, got an interception. The second game, got another interception. And that game, I had a very good game. And, I started growing my body a little bit. So I wasn't 145, 150 anymore. I got into about 165, 170. But I broke my arm. I shredded my knee. And from there, I couldn't play for the rest of the season. So I was heartbroken because all these schools like UCLA, Nebraska, Clemson, all these schools that were coming, they were starting to, notice me, and they all went away once I shredded my knee. And the doctor told me, he said, hey, look, I don't think you're going to be able to play football again. He said, that might be it. He said, with the type of surgery that we're going to have on your knee, it's not going to work out. And he said, we have something that's very new. It's called arthroscopic surgery. We can try that on you, but it's nothing guaranteed. And I said, hey, look, let's do it. And so I did have that surgery. I still got recruited by some schools and wound up going to Fresno State University, and wasn't 100% when I got there. Only had 2 years to play, but it didn't work well enough to where I was all league, got most improved in every category. I did very well, and the Rams took a shot on me. And, when I got that call saying that the Rams wanted me to come and play for their team, that was the team that I grew up watching as a kid. It was like a dream come true.
Right. And you went to Fresno with some like dogs, like NFL. You had probably 5 or 6 people from your school in that the first 2 years that you were there that graduated that played in NFL and played good in NFL, correct?
Yes, correct. So my college roommate, his name is Michael Stewart. He played with the Rams for 7 years. Yeah, that was my guy. So he was the best man in my wedding, and I was the best man in his wedding. So we were pretty close. And So we both go to the Rams. Matter of fact, my year, we were in 8. We were 11-0-1 my junior year, And my senior year, we were 9-2, but we were pretty good. And so out of that team, 11 of us signed pro contracts, and I would say maybe 5 played 5 years or more. So we had a very, very good team. I think we were really stacked up to a lot of teams. Matter of fact, besides UCLA around that time, I would say we were probably one of the better teams on the West Coast at that time in the time of the year. So
what are your favorite memories?
So
what are your favorite memories from playing with the Rams?
My favorite memory was well, of course, I got an interception against the Saints. That was one of my best memories. But guarding somebody like Steve Largent, who I just thought was an icon in the NFL, and
wait.
To be on the other side of him, I was like, everybody's a professional. Oh, Steve Largent.
Yeah.
Did you hear me?
No, okay. We know. Oh, he'll be back. All right, you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what?
Am I there?
We've known you for 15 years. We know you for 15 years, and I've never heard you say that you guarded Steve Largent.
Wait, say it again.
Said we know you for 15 years, and I've never heard you tell me. You have never told me
say it one more time.
You played against Steve Largent. Steve Largent is there's the one that's been forgotten. He was the original wide receiver GOAT before Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice broke his records.
Yes.
All right. So cool. So you played against Steve Largent.
Steve Largent. Yeah, and so I'm lined up against him, and I'm just saying in my head, man, this is Steve Largent, man. This is Steve Largent. And he ran an album, and he's not that
right. He wasn't that fast.
He's not that fast of a guy, but I mean, as soon as he turned around, I think it was Jim Zorn that was the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember.
Yeah, Jim Zorn's quarterback.
Yeah, he wasn't that fast of a guy, but as soon as he turned around, that ball was right. Yeah, he's okay. He's the quarterback. Yeah, and he threw it, man. I mean, and Steve Largent catches everything, man. I mean, he turned around, the ball was right there. And I was right on him. I mean, I think anybody else, I would have knocked the ball down, but since it was Steve Largent, got the catch. But that was the biggest highlight, just to be able to cover somebody like him, and to say that I covered a GOAT because I consider him as being one of the GOATs.
And you can say you practiced against a GOAT because you practiced against Eric Dickerson, correct?
I did, man. That Eric Dickerson was different, man. I've never seen anybody live play like how he did, man. That guy was like a gazelle. I mean, had big speed. And at that time on the team, we had Charles White as our second string running back, who was a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, from USC.
But to have Eric, it was like Charles White, who idolized as a kid. Matter of fact, he was my locker from USC. So he said right to me, our lockers were right next to each other. So I idolized Charles White. He was my guy, but Eric was on another level.
Yeah.
Eric was on another level because, I mean, he had speed, size, race. I mean, he had vision, all that. And I got a chance to see that, and I was like, man, there's never going to be – I just thought he was one – at that time, I thought he was one of the greatest running backs that I've ever seen, personally.
Who do you think think that plays right now that would almost be his comp? Is there a running back right now that'd be his comp, Greg?
That's like Eric Dickerson. man, that's like Eric Dickerson. Man, that guy was one of a kind. Let me see. You know, I wanted to say Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry is more of a power runner. Eric was more of a graceful runner. You know, so
he ran like a gazelle, man.
Man, I don't know. I don't think they make running backs like that anymore.
No, they don't. I don't think so either. And there's no running back.
I mean, they can carry the.
There's no running back would tell the coach
Yeah,
he run the gap 24, wherever he told John Robinson.
No, they can carry. Yeah. So Eric was at that time when I came around. Eric was he was upset about his contract. He was only making maybe $650,000. You know, that was good for a running back in the NFL, but Eric was a different type. And Jim Everett was making $1 million, and John Robinson, who was the coach, he was making over $1 million. So Eric was upset about that. And you know, I got a chance to see professional football at its finest. You kind of bowed down to the coach, but in the pros, I mean, it was a little different. You know, the players talked to the coach just like he was, you know, he's just one of the guys. He's just telling them, you know, what to do. He's just the leader of the team, but you know, there was never no no bowing down to it. So Eric was upset with John Robinson, about his contract, and so he told John Robinson one day in practice that he needed to run 47 gap because he's making the most money, and Eric would come out. He would come into practice late. And we would be almost like in practice, going through those and everything. And Eric would come out. He would tap. He would go in the huddle, tap Charles White on the butt, and tell him to get out of the huddle. And he would go in. And I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." But he was just upset about his money, and which I did understand. I didn't understand it then, but I understand why he did it.
So in the
this is
in
what
the
I'll
NFL,
say if you can hear me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, is the Rams needed Eric Dickerson, and Eric Dickerson needed the Rams.
Yeah, because that trade to the Colts was one-sided.
It was terrible.
Very, very true. So with within the locker room in that time, there was nobody talked about mental health in the locker room in that time, did they?
No, not at all. Man, concussions happen all the time. Man, that was part of the game. I mean, matter of fact, it was kind of like a ring of honor. If you got your bell wrong, that was kind of like a ring of honor because, you manned up and got back in there.
Right.
And
I know
the short.
Go ahead.
In the short time I was there, I got my bell rung several times. And
do you remember your come to NFL moment by getting your bell rung?
Yeah. Just went again.
Who was the first person that rung your bell? Do you remember? Sorry, we're having technical difficulties a little bit.
In a game? Yeah, we kind of breaking up a little bit. But in practice, I would say it was Irv Pankey in practice.
Damn.
Man, he got me good. He was pulling guard, and man, he hit me so hard, man. Oh man! But in a game, his last name was Lilly for the Denver Broncos. I can't remember his first name, but no, he was a safety. He was a
safety.
He was a safety for the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl in '86, and little guy too. He wasn't that big, and so if I can tell you a story that happened, we were on the punt team. And so I'm getting ready to go down. He's talking stuff. I'm talking stuff. He's telling me how he's going to knock my block off. And I told him that he can't keep up with me. I mean, we're going back and forth before the snap. And when the snap hit, I got away from him just like I thought I would. I'm going down. I'm almost right next to Vance Johnson, who was fielding the punt. He was the wide receiver for Denver, and he was fielding the punt. I'm about to hit him, and then Lily comes out of nowhere and smashes me. And when he did, man, I fell to the ground, lost my breath, didn't know where I was at. And when I looked up, I could just see him just shooting stuff at me.
So between the NFL that I know, because we talked about a few times, when you worked because you worked 25 years in the correctional facility, correct?
Correct.
Was it harder mentally for your mental health in the correctional facility or playing NFL? Or do you think playing NFL, getting your bell rung like that, contribute to your mental health and everything when you work for the correctional?
Well, yeah. Now it's two different things because with football, getting my bell rung at an early age is starting to affect me now as an older. Where I really can't. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering things, or I get real depressed for no reason. And I know it's from taking all those hits when I was younger, but in the correctional setting, it's a thankless job to where, you go in there and you're on the battlefield pretty much every day. And it's a very negative atmosphere where you're dealing with a lot of negativity that's going on. And you can actually bring that stuff home, years and years of negative stuff every day, seeing violence, seeing, blood and gore. You seeing all that crazy stuff and coming home and trying to live a normal life over time, it starts to mess with your psyche.
Yeah. And do you think, is there stuff that you think
and that's why a lot of who in the correctional facility, they either become alcoholics or they end their life early.
Yeah, that's sad. That's what me and Dr. Steve Brewer were talking about earlier too, is that kind of stuff that the triggers, and I'm sure, do you still have things that maybe trigger you? And do you feel it? Do you feel when you're having issues, mental health issues, do you feel it coming on? So I know I'll feel mine coming on a little bit, and I know when I get to that point, I need that. There's that the expression I use is I walk a tightrope, because if I fall one way, I'm gonna fall into depression. If I
well for me, go ahead.
But if I just stay on that rope and balancing it, walking across it, then I say Jay Glazer wrote a book called Unbreakable, I believe, and one of the things he said was, when you're struggling with mental health and depression, you try to stay in the gray area, because you stay in the gray area, it's like a safe zone. So what kind of stuff do you do to kind of stay in the gray area?
Yes. I really try to keep myself busy. I read now I read positive books. I getting really closer into my faith. I mean, that's helping. That's helping me out. I try to just keep myself around a positive atmosphere, because I've been around such a negative one for so long.
Yeah. So when we were in the business together, and I remember when you got to a certain position and you had to start like presenting, in this company that we were in, and I used to send you mindfulness videos and stuff, and you used to eat it up and stuff, and we used to talk about how we need to stay on that course. It's kind of, we're holding each other accountable, So just like anything in life, you need, like, if you're trying to lose weight, you want to have an accountability buddy to kind of help you there. So I think a lot of times with mental health and mental health, you need that accountability buddy, the one that's going to kind of that you can lean on. That's something, and this and from the bottom of my heart, dude, that's something you've always been for me, and that's something I've always appreciated, that you were there for me like that too. It's the stupid simple thing, little things like maybe me texting you saying, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or you texting me just checking in on you. Goats, I'm telling you guys, if you know somebody that's struggling, that is on the fence, send them a simple text saying, "How are you? Do you need to talk? I'm here for you." Those are simple words, simple phrases. And if you do that, that means a difference to somebody, because that person might be leaning sideways, ready to fall off that tightrope. But just that little "How are you doing?" phrase keeps them balanced. And that's one thing that you have always done. You always continue to do that with me, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You know, we weren't meant to be in isolation. You know, and there's time I will get into and I'm going to be to myself. But the thing about it is, when you do that, evil things can start creeping into your head, and it can start messing with you. And so, you said I was there for you, but I think it worked both ways. It was kind of a yin and yang. You were there for me as well. When I met you, I was kind of going through some crazy stuff. So by me hanging around you, it really helped me out mentally, because I was going through a really tough time. And, and just by you being a friend, it helped me. And in turn, I was able to turn around and reciprocate that with you.
It's funny how one simple NFL shot glass, because me and my wife had just bought the old house, and we had this bitching game room, and I bought this shot glass holder. So I told my wife we're going to fill the shot glass holder up with all the NFL teams, and just going. I'd come in, I'd take my cans in, recycle my cans, and go to get in the game. And it was like a candy store to me, man. It was always hard for me, but it just, that one shot glass, and it coming, inviting you over to watch UFC games. Greg would fall asleep watching UFC matches sometimes because he was tired, but because at that time you're working the correctional facility, then going to your shop, and 15 years, dude.
What's crazy was I was working nights from 12 midnight to 8. I would go home. I would sleep probably from 9 to about 11 or so. And then I would go and open. This is before I had employees. I would go open up the store, and I would work that store until 7, and then run home, jump into bed, sleep until 11 o'clock, get up, and had to be at work at 12. And I did that almost every day. And that right there, until I got employees where I had somebody can open the store for me.
Yeah, that
was really rough. And so I didn't know if I was coming or going sometimes. But
yeah, if before I let you go,
when you want something,
go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Okay. When you want something to work bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. So I'd never been in business before. I never ran a sports store. I never ran a store before, but I wanted to make it work. And so I did whatever what was possible to make that work. And by you coming in and supporting me, I mean, that really helped me out. I mean, just looking at your wall, I'm like, man, I remember that. All these pictures these portraits and memorabilia that I sold out that store. I mean, you helped keep me really flowing at that time.
Before I let you go, is there one piece of advice you can give to all the fancy goats about mental health? Did you hear my question, Greg?
Again, I think you might have broke up.
Is there one piece of advice you can give to all the fancy goats about mental health?
Let me see. It kind of timed out.
All right.
I would say if you're going through something, yeah, there you go. If you're going through something, talk to somebody. Don't be afraid to talk to someone. Find somebody that you can confide with and speak with them, because by you speaking, it's going to help you go through whatever you're going through. Because some of us, we all go through some type of mental health, but some of us go through it worse than others. Mm-hmm. And so don't keep it bottled in, because that's where you have a lot of harm, is by you keeping that.
Yeah.
So talk to someone, let it out. Have some type of outlet to where it can help you.
Well, good. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your friendship, and good luck in the Fantasy Goats Invitational.
Same here.
Hopefully we'll see each other in the playoffs. But I do know, because I played. So the story is, Goats, how I got my name Commissioner Rhino is Greg played. Greg played in my fantasy football league, and he forgot the draft time, and then he forgot to set his team. So, being the commissioner I am, I kicked his ass out of the league, because that's how I roll as the commissioner. And who can say, who do you know can say kick the NFL player out of their league? The sad part is the person that took over his team beat me in the championship game. Oh, Greg, again,
with my team.
Yeah, with your team, Mike Evans and Godwin. God. Anyway, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. Look forward to next Sunday golfing. We get together once a month. We go golfing.
I plan on winning,
but we have fun. All right. You have a nice evening, Greg. All right, Goats. Hey, I appreciate the time. I appreciate everybody that listened on X, that listened on YouTube. This has a deep meaning to me, because I have fought through it, and I do fight through it. A couple words of advice. One is it's okay not to be okay. What that means is, don't think that there's a problem because you're not okay. It's okay not to be okay. When you feel that coming down or coming towards you, or feeling that weight of something on your shoulder like that, just reach out. If you're on X, you following me, DM me. My DMs are always open for people. You can send send me an email at fantasyghost24@gmail.com. And and also with me, because I'm a man of faith, I've learned my four favorite words are let go and let God. Meaning, for me, if I let go and just let God take care of stuff and be able to talk to Him, then that helps me out a lot. Helps keep me. And thank you, Nifo, for your posting the stream. I appreciate that. To let go and let God just means I just let Him take over. It helps me, and it keeps me in the straight and narrow. And again, everybody that listened on this, I appreciate from the bottom of my heart. You all have a nice evening, and look forward to, we'll be back doing full-on basketball content this week. We're going to do our best to bring you the best content that we can and have a good time on it. The the best thing about the Fantasy Goats, the four of us, is we are four people that just love football and talk football. So be a difference, make a difference. Peace out.